Well, it's been a while since we've gotten a decent snowstorm or even a significant measurable snowfall period, and we're going to talk about snow as we are now in the second Climate Friday newsletter of the month of December. Welcome on in, whether you're joining online on WTOL.com, YouTube, or WTOL 11+. Good to have you with us. Every single Friday, we bring you new climate-related content and how it may impact you. And in this week's edition, we are going to be talking snowfall and answering where's the snow and what can you expect as we head into the middle of the month of December. It's been a while since we've gotten a decent measurable snow, even just using 3 inches of snowfall as the threshold. It has been almost a year since that's occurred. You have to go back to January the 25th of this year, 2023. That is the last time we got 3 inches or more of snowfall. And that particular storm brought 4.7, one of our bigger systems of last winter, which was pretty sparse in the snowfall department. Now, using a slightly higher threshold, or half a foot of snowfall, 6 inches of snow, it's been even longer. We have to go all the way back to 2022 towards the end of that winter. You may recall that big time February snow event on the tail end of the winter. On the 2nd and the 3rd of the month of February, we got over a foot of snowfall, and that was roughly an 8-4 split between 2 days of snow that brought us a total of 12.7 inches. Since then, it's been hard to come by snowfall. That's the last time we even logged half a foot of snowfall, and it's not looking like we'll get that snowfall measurement for the foreseeable future. Speaking of February snowfall, if we go a year prior, the 15th and the 16th of 2021, it was like clockwork, 2 Februaries in a row that brought us some big time snowfall systems. That one brought us well over a foot of snow with an official snowfall report of 14.5 inches of snow, and that one was split between 8 inches and 6.5 over the course of 2 days. Those 2 historic Februaries have been followed by relatively little snowfall. Looking at last winter, during the winter season, we only logged 10 inches of snow, and that's looking at the meteorological winter, all of December, January, and February combined, well below average, considering we typically average a little over 30 inches of snow at Toledo Express Airport. In summary, the last 2 years have been a sort of mixed bag. Last winter, not much snowfall at all, and the winter prior, well, it was not very snowy, at least until the tail end in the month of February. Finally helped catch up a little bit of that deficit in the snowfall department, but we still ended up below average. That winter 2 years ago, 26.3, which is just slightly less than you might expect for a winter in Northwest Ohio or Southeastern Michigan. So what role is climate change playing? Well, in general, the trends that we've seen is winter snowfall is growing a little bit less on average. Of course, there's still seasons that do produce some decent snowfall, namely 2013 to 2014. That one may come to mind, but overall, the broader trend shows less snowfall, and we are seeing a bit of a later start to the wintry weather, which means that December snowfall is being harder to come by as well. One of the trade-offs to seeing less snow is seeing more rainfall as we see a transition from frozen to liquid precipitation, and due to warming winter months, much of the northern United States is seeing more frequent rainfall and less frequent snow. This particular data set looks at weather observation sites or cities that are seeing less snow and more rainfall, and you'll notice a significant percentage of those across the Great Lakes. 72% of cities seeing more winter rain and less winter snow, and out in the Pacific Northwest, 82% of cities are seeing less snow and more rainfall. Even out towards New England and the northern plains, that is a trend that has become increasingly common. So let's talk big snowmakers. Some of you snow lovers may remember these ones. Well, we talked about that February system that brought us 14.5 inches just a couple winters ago in 2021. Well, topping the list of the biggest 2-day snowstorms all the way back to 1900, 20.2 inches of snowfall. And these snowfall totals are looking at 2-day totals. So let's say that storm system or that winter storm occurred over the place of 2 days or about 48 hours. Second on the list, over 2 feet of snow. That one occurred in 1912. Also a February system. There's that recent February in 2021. And looking back towards the December storm, that is an early winter storm system that brought us 13.9 inches. And then a January storm, we talked about 2014, Boy, that year brought some harsh weather, and during the month of January, we logged over 1 foot of accumulation. Our recent February snowfalls have been really the only notable storms in an otherwise fairly sparse winter weather pattern. 2021 got us 14.5, 2022 12.7 inches of snow, but other than those February systems, most of the rest of the winter, including December and January, snowfall has been hard to come by. So let's talk December snowfall in particular, and you can always stay up to date with that WTOL 11 weather forecast as we look ahead towards the remainder of the month. The snowiest December on record, that goes back to the middle of the 20th century, 1951. Boy, was that a snowy December. We got 25.5 inches of snowfall. That is almost our average yearly snowfall during the course of 1 month. Of course, that's the snowiest December. What about the least snowy Decembers? We've had several where there was no significant measurable snowfall, and that's what we describe as just a trace of snow. A couple of those did happen in recent years, 2015, 2014. Yes, isn't that ironic that we talked about that January 2014 snow, and then December brought just a trace, and then 1931. So there are a couple recent years that have produced very little to no snow during the month of December. So what does a normal winter have in store? Well, December typically kicks off the start of some wintry conditions with 6.5 inches of accumulation. During the course of the month, we average a little over a half a foot of snowfall. January is the snowiest month on average. That brings us about a foot of accumulation, and February follows as number 2 for the most snowy months with an average of 10.2 inches of snow. So how did last winter pan out in comparison? Very sparse in the snowfall department. Last December only brought us 1.2 inches of snow. So yes, we did have some measurable snowfall, but no, it was not very much. And for those of you who are snow lovers, that is the way that this December is trending as well. Last January, little less than 8 inches of snow, and considering that is our snowiest month of the year, that is not very much at all for the month of January. What about February? Less than 1 inch of accumulation. Last February only brought us 9/10 of an inch, and one thing that you may remember about last February is an overwhelming amount of sunshine. We had a lot of dry weather and a good deal of sunny and dry conditions during February, which is often a month that can bring harsh wintry weather and is not notorious for being sunny and relatively pleasant like last February was. So in terms of December weather, what can you expect? At least on average, it is only our 3rd snowiest month of the winter. January and February take the cake as 1 and 2. So even if we don't get much snow this December, we're not going to write off the winter just yet. But if it was a normal December, it would feature 6.5 inches of snowfall. Of course, last year barely got us 1 inch. And in the temperature department, our average high is 39 degrees. And the weather changes pretty significantly from the first day of December to after Christmas. Those temperatures go downhill in a hurry during the month of December. Now, overall, climate change is impacting December weather significantly. In fact, looking at the entire calendar year in Toledo and Northwest Ohio, December is the month that has been affected the most in the temperature department. In the last decade alone, December has seen a 3.1 degree increase in average temperatures, and that's just looking at decade to decade trends. The latest report from NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, shows a 3.1 degree increase in December temperatures. And of the entire calendar year, it is interesting that December is the month that has seen the biggest uptick in the temperature department. Now, in terms of a broader trend, not just looking at the last decade, but looking at data since 1970, there has been an even bigger increase in temperatures. Climate data shows a 4.4 degree warming trend in Toledo. So even though it's ramped up in the recent decades, we are seeing an overall trajectory. Now, one thing you will notice is this line here that shows you the average as we see an overall warming trend due to global warming and climate change, but there are spikes and there are dips in that line, and that is not to say there's not year-to-year variation. So even in a realm of climate change, yeah, we're still going to see a lot of year-to-year variation caused by the individual weather patterns such as El Nino or La Nina. Those broader patterns do play a big role in our winter snowfall, and this year being an El Nino, likely a strong El Nino, we are likely to end up on the warmer side of things and also a little bit lower in terms of that winter snowfall. We'll have the latest Climate Friday newsletter each and every Friday throughout the month of December to gear you up for the holiday season and also get you ready for what snowfall or lack of snowfall this winter has in store. We'll see you next Friday with the latest.